Hello everybody and welcome to PlayStation Access. My name is Ash and I have managed to scare everyone in the office into submission. It is time to talk PS5 horror games! Woo! That's a ghost. Collecting up the very best in PlayStation 5 releases, these are the scariest, goriest, most freakiest games you can put yourself through in 4K resolution, ranging from light-hearted spooks to wading through disturbed psyches. I've got something for everyone. Horror has something for everyone. Well, unless you're Dave, of course, who I'm going to distract with this picture of kittens for the next 15 minutes. Should have made that 13 minutes, really. Like all our PS5 top 10 lists, we're looking at games with a native PS5 release, aka they show up as a distinct PlayStation 5 version in the store and your library. So no PS4 backwards compatibility shoutouts have made the cut. But we do have a whole other list of PS4 picks, so check that out at the end of this video if you're still feeling some bloodlust. Right then, on to rats eating people alive, smashing mutant heads in, and love poems. Enjoy! Where better to start than the latest and greatest in PlayStation 5 horror? Can you guess what title I'm about to say? Bingo! It's the 2023 remake of Resident Evil 4. And yes, that was a convoluted way of shoehorning a bingo joke into the opening.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Leon S. Kennedy's adventures in babysitting start with a trip to a Spanish village, where it's revealed he is searching for the president's kidnapped daughter, Ashley. Great name. Only it is not as simple as running in and going all White House down on the situation. Villagers are afflicted with a tentacle-inducing parasite, someone has poured way too much fish food in the local lake, and old Mr. Salvador here is trying to give you the closest of shaves.
Actually, it's Dr. Salvador. I didn't train for 5 years at chainsaw school to be called Mr. Salvador.
All this was true for the 2005 original, but the way the remake harnesses the PS5 elevates the iconic sights and sounds to terrifying new heights. The headshots are gooier, the set pieces are brasher, and Leon's hair is floppier than ever before. So optimise your briefcase layout, combine those red and green herbs, and get ready to go parasite hunting. Resident Evil 4 wins yet another title as one of the defining horror games of a generation. In Dead Space, everyone can hear you scream. Because you're still sitting in your living room, remember? Though that is easy to forget considering how impressive this remake looks and sounds. From the moment the USG Ishimura looms into view, you know this is going to be one gut-churning test of endurance. Not just how long your main man Isaac can survive physically, but just how much you can take mentally. You see, something has gone very wrong here. The crew have been munched, and the really unlucky ones assimilated into the ranks of savage necromorphs. 15 years on from the PS3 original, these guys still freak us out, with their arms raised and bent like broken toothpicks. Factor in their surprise entrances and jaws strong enough to chew through Isaac's spinal cord, and you've got one hell of a horror experience. But before I permanently scar our Dave, that's right, ignore the meat sounds and keep on looking at that kitten. Do know that this iconic enemy gets an equally iconic solution: the limb-shearing plasma cutter. It's one of the greatest weapons in video game history. And no, I'm not pulling your leg, I'm sawing it clean off. Throw in the most claustrophobic ship design since the Nostromo, and zero-G sections that flip you every which way and rob you of precious sound, and you will soon understand why Dead Space has long been touted as one of the scariest games going. This remake does not pull any punches, or bone-crunching stomps, when it comes to levelling up for PS5. Just like Blue Knees himself, you found what you're looking for in Madison. Well, if what you're looking for is a truly horrifying PS5 game. And if you're asking, who the hell is Blue Knees and what the hell is he looking for, then oh boy, am I excited to introduce you to your new favourite horror game. Madison, tantalisingly stylised as Mad Small Eye Son, is about a young man facing supernatural threats as he is sucked into a gory ritual upheld by Madison herself. Swirling together your classic psychological torment with nerve-shredding puzzles, Madison feels like a walking sim with extra bite, layered with puzzles to solve in a nightmare logic world, one unafraid of the humble jump scare. You've been warned. Three unique story acts, 2 haunted houses packed with detail, and 1 musical demon awaits you in the dilapidated halls of Madison. So keep your eyes peeled whilst playing this brilliant little horror game, or Blue Knees will peel them for you. If our entries have felt disappointingly rat-free so far, then let me fix that with A Plague Tale Requiem. This game packs up to 300,000 of the monsters on screen at any given moment. So, that rodent-shaped hole is quickly filled to overflowing and then some with the ravenous beasties of medieval France. Forget your plague of locusts, this is destruction on a biblical scale as they eat entire cities and everyone inside them. It gives a whole new meaning to French cuisine. It is up to you, playing as Tina Misia, to protect her supernaturally inclined brother Hugo and search for a way to save him from the curse that connects him and this tidal wave of hungry rats. It's a classic tale of sibling loyalty, but don't expect anything saccharine or twee. Requiem puts its cast through hell, trapping them between violent forces of mankind and the supernatural surge of ratkind. So hold on to those brief pockets of light in gorgeous 14th century settings. You'll soon be crunching bones underfoot as you cling to your torch. Propelled as much by apocalyptic action as sensitive character interactions, A Plague Tale Requiem will quicken your pulse and break your heart. A terrifying dive into desperation, loss, and grief at every turn. What about a game for when the moon is full, Ash? What about that? Well, ideally you'll be playing all these games in the dead of night, but if you must have virtual moonlight, then get thee to the Quarry. This branching narrative teen camp extravaganza draws inspiration from the likes of Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, Sleepaway Camp, all that good stuff that gets freaks hot under their plastic masks. And it all takes place under the eerie glow of a full moon.
Silence.
You'll switch between a bunch of familiar archetypes across a gang of camp counsellors who are stuck in Hackett's Quarry until morning, making the most of their extra night with partying and the odd bit of canoodling. But things quickly go from banter to bear traps as our gang of body bags to be clash with all kinds of things that go bump in the night. You can try bumping back by hitting those quick time events, but sometimes even the fastest fingers can be doomed by bad decision making.
Goodbye, cruel world. The final curtain is calling and there's no time for an encore.
The Quarry takes the best parts of slashers and blends them into one big bloody milkshake, sprinkling Hollywood heavy hitters into lead roles for a cinematic experience and bringing it to life with some spookily believable facial capture. With genre nods for every flavour of horror fan and very real, very dire consequences tied to your choices, here's your chance to see if you'd really survive a horror movie. Love to sit and shout, "Don't go into that basement!" Well, now it's your choice to descend or not. Good luck.
You've seen The Evil Dead, right?
Now, it is one thing to survive a horror game that is a designed and curated experience. It is entirely another to get through it when there are real people behind the screen. Dead by Daylight pits a group of survivors against a monstrous killer in asymmetrical online multiplayer, allowing you to really see if you've got the guts to persevere, or if those guts will end up decorating the walls of the arena instead. 4 survivors are tasked with opening an exit through powering up generators, whilst a killer works on shoving a massive hook through their chest and sacrificing them to an omnipresent evil entity. Aww, for me? Throw in heaps of crossover characters from horror franchises, like Resident Evil's own Leon S. Kennedy in Nemesis, or Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, and you are in for a remarkably fun, blood-soaked time, ruled by whether you're capable enough of outsmarting predator or prey. Honestly, there is just so much love and lore poured into Dead by Daylight, accompanied by smart chapter updates packed with gorgeous cinematics designed to make the experience much more than hook-a-duck with humans. It is a delight to see what they keep coming up with both in-game and in menus. Reading through the text entries is almost as good as playing. Okay, now it is time for a title which by its inclusion in a horror list is a spoiler in itself, which I'm very sorry about, but it is far too clever to let slip here. Of course, I'm talking about the infamous Doki Literature Club Plus, the release that brought the game to PlayStation consoles and unleashed potent psychological damage on a whole new audience of gamers. Thanks for that, Team Salvato. So, how best to explain its dark magic? Take Dave and his kittens. On the surface, this seems delightful and cute. No worries here. But the longer you stare, the more unnatural it becomes. You sense something beneath the surface, something you dare not grasp lest it leave you permanently changed. Well, Doki Literature Club Plus is like that. It might look like an anime dating sim. It might play like a visual novel. It might taste like plastic if you choose to bite the PS5. but its twee exterior serves to hide something much darker at its core, something shocking and thoughtful and far more intense than its colourful wrapping pretends to be. That's all you're getting on this one. On an icy moon of Jupiter, in the cold recesses of Black Iron Prison, the incarcerated are set upon by the mutated, and a bloody fight for survival is on the cards for anyone to make it out alive. In the Callisto Protocol, you take control of Jacob Lee, a freight transporter mistakenly imprisoned when his ship crashes on the penitentiary moon Callisto. After a grueling procedure to install a game hood into his neck, thanks for the help there, Jake, old pal, our guy wakes up to Black Iron Prison in lockdown, with monstrous biophage roaming the halls and security units programmed to shoot on sight. Armed with a stun baton and a whole heap of brutal weaponry to try and pulp enemies before they pulp you, the Callisto Protocol prides itself on gore of the finest vintage, pouring out pints of blood and guts at every opportunity, much to the disdain of the continually pureed Jacob. Sometimes it's just necessary to throw him into a meat grinder a few times to make sure you have really seen every animation, you know? It's only fair to the devs. As brutal as it is beautiful then, the Callisto Protocol is a graphical dream, or rather nightmare, that every horror fan can ooh and ah at, as well as a nasty thrill ride that keeps you guessing with every twist of its goopy story. Next, fresh off the PSVR 2 update that makes the internet's big vampire mother even bigger, there are plenty of scares, and otherwise, to be had in Resident Evil Village. The continuation of the perpetually tortured Ethan Winters story, Village sees the man and his abused hands arrive in a European settlement as he searches for his kidnapped daughter. Resident Evil Village feels like a love letter to horror in all its forms, really. 4 houses, all alike in dignity and malignity, mind, come together to host a carnival of horrors across a heap of subgenres, with everything from cursed dolls to transformative body horror encompassed in the homes of the 4 lords of the village. Combining straight-up survival horror, where running and hiding is your best option, with explosive encounters to take down horrifying bosses, Village is the best of both worlds for fans that like slow, careful experiences and running, gunning combat alike. At its pitch-black heart is House Beneviento, an almost self-contained horror assault that can hold its own against any horror experience of the modern era. Boot it up in VR if you're feeling really brave. And no, this isn't an excuse to show Dave and Rob again, but as we've mentioned it... Finally, we have not a vision, but a visage, or visage as I keep calling it. A sinister walking sim that sits between life and death as Dwayne is cursed to an existence between the two. Now stuck endlessly wandering a haunted house, the game is simple in its spookiness. A creaking chandelier here, a flickering light there, all slowly chewing away at Dwayne's sanity meter. Your sanity meter, as you look for reprieve in what was once your home. It's only when you interact with special items to start a chapter that manifestations take shape. The story of a little girl who befriends a demon, an old woman losing her mind, and a man convinced he's being watched from the shadows all unfold around the house, slowly terrorizing you with internal demons that break through to reality. There's also a cosmic cup of hot chocolate, which is pretty cool. It's the small wins that count. Visage is a real treat. Well, probably trick, more accurately, for the senses, with mind-melting story beats, collectibles, and entities to be found in all corners of this house of horrors. Well, if they don't find you first, that is. And there you have it. Those are our top 10 picks for the best horror games on PS5, though it is by no means exhaustive, and other things have come out in the time that I have written this. The PS5 is groaning with ghoulish games. Some honourable mentions that also deserve a massive shout out include the first-person psychological horror Martha is Dead, the incredible collision of fishing sim and cosmic horror that is Dredge, which also has a video on the channel if you want to check that out, and Tormented Souls, a brilliant throwback to the golden era of fixed-camera survival horror. If you like your horror literary and gorgeous, try Alan Wake Remastered, which will also get you prepared for the upcoming sequel, or take to the rooftops in the parkour-powered zombie apocalypse in Dying Light 2. Oh, and of course, a shout out for Observer System Redux for a cyberpunk techno thriller. And to finish on one of my recent favourites, Bramble the Mountain King, which is a dark fairy tale storybook that you absolutely should check out. Right, I'm running the risk of making a whole second list here, so I will stop there and ask you to add your personal favourites in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to PlayStation Access for coverage across a whole range of genres, though horror is definitely the best, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. See you soon, and thank you for watching.
PlayStation